Okay, so in here we have the combat part of the video. So I chose this fight against Roost because I thought it was kind of simple-ish and still allows me to kind of show you what exactly has changed. So as you can see, first of all, you no longer have 4 AP per turn, you have 8 AP base for each of the characters, and you have 12 AP max. This basically means that the system alters combat quite significantly, so you have like a lot of more customizable options to choose from. The biggest change, however, that has been made is the source system. So initially, in the original game, you had those source points that were given to you that you basically had to kind of gather before combat and use them in the fights. Now your characters actually generate souls at this rate of 1 per turn, starting from the second turn. And you can use this ability here to empower every single ability you have with source. So every single ability now is basically 3 abilities altogether. Because, I mean, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but every single time you infuse an ability with source, it gains a lot of new effects and does new stuff. So basically here, for instance, like this one allows you to apply new status effects, it allows you to extend the duration, it adds the, like if you wait long enough, you can actually add 3 ice shards per turn to Blizzard, which is absolutely amazing, right? You can see that not many skills actually cost souls now. Most of them have no source cost based, but like adding source actually adds a lot of functionality. So for instance here, if you manage to gather 2 source points, you can use Restoration as an AoE heal, right? So it heals every single ally in the radius. If you use Cleanse Wounds here, again, it increases the radius at which it goes and also applies to all characters in the radius, also damaging the people who are damaged by healing skills, right? So there are quite a few things you can do here. Another nice thing is that there are certain skills that allow you to that can be used when you have not enough AP to do that, right? So for instance, this one here says pay up to 5 more AP, which means that you can actually use this skill when you're at 1 action point, but you'll just get like kind of a small debuff for this. Okay, this may be significant if you don't have any AP at all, so you can actually punish yourself using this, but this is also a nice way to kind of manage your characters properly. Okay. Another thing about this new combat system is that statuses are applied differently. So this game completely got rid of this hard CC. So there is no more stun. There is no more. Shock that kind of makes it impossible for you to move. You can no longer freeze your enemies permanently. Okay, so the combat gets way more interactive with those new changes. So there are 2 main statuses now. Actually, another really nice thing is that this new system allows you to combo both magic, like magical damage, and physical damage, because the strongest damage you can get comes if you actually successfully use both types of damage together. There are 2 major types of statuses here now, so there is harried and battered. Okay, so when you use physical damage, you apply battered, and this battered, like you can basically spend battered to apply additional statuses on enemies, such as for instance slow or ataxia, which disables auto attacks, or subjugation, which means that those characters can no longer attack you without being punished, or for instance vulnerability, which means that all healing damages you, and so on and so forth. So there are quite a few new statuses here, and they're all activated depending, like they each has 3 tiers, and they're activated depending on what kind of state your enemy is in. So if you just use Blizzard here, you see that this one applies brittle, applies squelched, and basically it will go like this. And depending on what kind of status your enemies have, they will be either squelched 1 or squelched 2 or squelched 3, right? So for instance here, squelched 1 is applied every single time you use an ability. Squelched 2 requires you to have 0 defenses in a given type, so here they would require to have 0 magic resistance, so 0 magic armor to be inflicted with squelched 2. And for squelched 3 or slowed 3, they would need to have 7 stacks of harried. Right? The same goes for physical statuses. So in order to apply brittle, for instance, you would need to have you would need to, okay, so in order to apply physical statuses, you would need to have several stacks of battered, okay? And the way you apply battered and brittle and harried, as you can see here, okay, nobody has harried. Okay, this guy has harried. So you apply harried by simply inflicting magical or physical damage. And if you apply a magical status, it actually increases the damage multiplier for physical damage. And if you inflict the physical status, it increases the damage multiplier for the magical statuses. So this means that those two can be kind of used interchangeably. And if you have like mages and melee or like physical damage dealers in your composition, they will just basically work very, very well. Okay, so here I'm just gonna try to focus. Let's say, I think I remember, as far as I remember, the wolves had to go first. I'm just gonna use this, which, as you can see, I can pay up to 5 more AP. I'm just gonna pay 1 AP here, which means I'm going to inflict a lot of stacks of brittle and harried on myself. I'm not sure how this fight is gonna go. Actually, like the last time I did this, it was very easy, but it obviously doesn't have to be easy now. As you can see, spells can critically hit as well. You can pick a talent that does that. Overall, the combat has been significantly streamlined, so you can no longer just one-shot your opponents easily, right? This now requires you to kind of focus a lot, okay? So one-shots are no longer just easily possible, so you cannot just do them right away. So I'm going to use my artifact power here, so I'm just going to pop the spawn a corpse here first with the this ability, and then I'm gonna pop the corpse explosion, and I'm going to do damage to these two guys, hopefully. I hope it's like, see, the corpse explosion actually has a very high radius, so I might damage my own characters here. I probably will. Right, that's unfortunate. But the damage is high. You can see that I've applied the flaming crescendo on my enemies first of all. I also have gained this firebrand buff. So as I said, those bonuses are really, really strong. So I have kind of used 3 or 4 abilities by using 2 basically. So that's what artifacts actually do for you. Okay, I have to back off with this character. I have not started generating source yet, as you can see. Okay, so I'm gonna use this, and I'm going to try to focus down one of the wolves here. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna use the basic auto attack here. Or I could try, actually. I have a single 0 AP movement skill, so I can move a little bit across and perhaps try to use the Marksman's Fang, which will do a lot of damage across the board to all the enemies. So this is working pretty well so far. Now, epic encounters have made the combat significantly more difficult, so your enemies will be doing more damage, but you also have like a lot of new possibilities to kind of interact with your opponent. So for instance here, I'm going to move up and use this ability, Shields Up, and I have a special Ascension skill that allows me to taunt my enemies every single time I use this skill. So I'm going to move to the middle. I think it's going to be enough to taunt all 3 of those enemies. As you can see, all 3 of them are taunted now, which means that I can just kind of relax and wait for taunt to gain 1 more source bonus, and I can use it next turn. Sadly, Lozi is dead, so this is going to be significantly more difficult of a fight because of that. Okay, see, another proc here, Defiance has procced because my character is flanked, which means that I gain additional bonuses because of this Defiance tree being activated. Okay, so here, Red Prince takes some punishment, and I'm going to get my turn on Ifan very soon. This is not going well as a fight. I think it illustrates what happens in this game very well. Okay, so we're gonna do Finger of Death here. When the character dies, it procs the corpse. What the hell was that spell actually called? It procs the firebrand. No, the shit, I didn't read this. It procs the immolation, right? So all those characters were actually immolated before. Alright, now I have this source to spend, so I can use it on a very strong combo, which I'm going to do now. So you can source infuse your cloak and dagger, which makes you invisible. So I'm gonna just jump behind this enemy here. And now I can use execute, which does double damage when I'm invisible, to kill this wolf over here. And it's a very, very strong combo, as you can see. And I keep regaining AP because I have the executioner talent. I think I should focus Roost, actually. That's going to be his time to go. Another thing that they've done here in this game is that they've changed the way in which resurrection works. So now you can only, when you resurrect your character, they take their turn at the very end of a given combat round. So in this case, like if I resurrect Lozy here, which I'm gonna do, I guess, she's going to take her turn after the second archer, so I have to make sure she doesn't die instantly. And also, unfortunately, I can see that Red Prince has also dropped dead. So this fight isn't going great at all. You can see that the damage that enemies do is extremely, extremely high. Okay, these guys here are probably going to focus on Irfan now. Irfan is pretty fucking squishy at that too, so that's very unlucky. Right, so I have two choices here. I think I'm going to speed up Lose so that she can resurrect my allies, and I'm going to use Sky Shot. Ouch. Right, this is really a large portion of damage. Fortunately, I have dodge here, so he is going to survive. And yeah, I don't have source here because if you resurrect your character, they actually lose all their source, which is another kind of form of punishment for actually not playing smart, which I didn't do. And I only have 2 more resurrection scrolls. You should be, like, if you're playing this mod, you'll very quickly get used to the fact that you are resurrecting your allies constantly. And this is because, well, the enemies are just really, really tough here. Okay, I'm gonna drop the Luminous Ritual, I think, because I need to regain some HP on every single character I have, and this is the best way to do so. Right, so this is a healing that I'm gonna do here. I might try to slow this guy down. That's gonna be slowed once still only because I don't have enough harried on him. Just 3 harried is on this guy right now. So I'm gonna taunt now. I'm gonna show you what the tier 3 status does. So in this case I'm gonna use Crippling Blow to proc Ataxia on this guy. And this is a disarm stat, would have been a disarm status. Shit, that's unlucky. So this should have actually been a disarm. Okay, he is vulnerable, so this means that his healing is off. I have to, before I heal him, I actually have to fortify him first. And I'm gonna heal him now with this ability. And I have 1 more source point to spend. The problem is that those 2 archers are unchecked, so they're going to be actually doing a lot of damage to me, but I still have to heal Prince. I think I'm just gonna heal Prince and get out. I'm gonna go to the left here, hide behind this wall for the line of sight to be gone. And he just, that's not a large DP T actually, he doesn't do too much here. That's good. Okay, you see that this was Immolation that procced from the corpse explosion from before. I'm going to drop the wolf here so that I get the taunt on one of these archers. Which one of those goes first? This bodyguard goes first. So I'm just going to, I think this shadow was actually more lethal. So I'm gonna get him taunted here, and I'm just gonna wait out this turn, I guess. I might try to hide somewhere so that those archers don't get me. At least one of those archers doesn't get me killed, right? I would prefer not to die too much here. I only have 1 more resurrection scroll. So here we go. I'm gonna hide behind the wall here. The wolf did cost me a single AP. Now there is one more thing about finesse. So finesse actually allows you to regenerate some AP every time you use a regular attack, and this wolf has very high finesse, so it very often will regain the AP. Okay, this one had a passive. Apparently, this wardrobe here doesn't quite save me from that. So I was still in the line of sight of this crossbowman. You can see they're recovering AP every single time they auto attack. That's through finesse. Okay, we have two source points here, so I can do this. I can proc Okay, I'm going to walk up a little bit so I have the line of sight. I'm going to infuse twice, and this should allow me to get this second infusion bonus, which is 2 arrows additional to the barrage, which means there's going to be 5 arrows total that explode. That's a huge bonus. Sadly, I didn't want Ifan to die. This would have been a really nice combo with Predator, but that's not going to happen here, unfortunately, so I'm just going to do this. See, there's like a lot of damage that is procced. And yeah, I'm just going to hide here again, I think. I'm going to go behind the wall here, behind this wall over here, so that she doesn't take any unnecessary punishment. Might actually heal her fan as well. He's very squishy, like in this iteration. See, I procced a passive called Violent Strikes here, which means that I will actually do additional bonus damage on my next auto attack, and this lasts for 2 turns. This was done through using the aid on Ifan. That was the trigger here. Okay, so I'm going to actually I might try to remove some of the resistances from my opponents here. Right, you can see that this combat is like way more interactive because there is no more hard CC. You actually have to be using taunt quite wisely in order to survive those attacks of your opponents. Okay, I'm gonna challenge him here. I think that's reasonable. And I'm going to pass my turn, and Lozy is probably going to do some damage now because she can. So I can actually try to drop the Storm with double. See, can I reach? No, I actually don't want Sahila to die. I think she's like super tanky though, so it should be fine. I'm gonna drop the Storm over here on those 2 guys. I'm gonna empower it twice with Source Infusion. And I'm going to drop it on these 2 guys. Alright. You can see both points are gone now. And I can also relocate the Storm. I don't think this was available in the original, but I'm not really sure. Okay, we're gonna get some defense. Some Armor of Frost maybe on a fan here. And Roost is going to take his turn now. Right, this applies additional Harried stacks, which means that I can apply very strong slows or other strong forms of CC. Okay, he is going to... Oh shit, yeah, he has gained the... That's another thing, like if you spend a lot of source points, and your opponents can do this too, they'll gain access to additional abilities, right? So you can actually like use Whirlwind once when you empower it with two source points, and then you gain Empowered Whirlwind, which you can use again, and it's a very strong ability. Okay, so I'm just gonna kill this guy here, I think, because there's been a lot of punishment that I was taking from him. I'm going to just execute him here with... They have like they have cheap damage ability. No, not really. So I'm gonna kill him like that. He is executed, and these guys here have Harried 7. This means I can use Infect, for instance, which consumes 7 stacks of Harried to inflict your opponents with fear. Now they will. That's like the form of hard CC here, so he won't be able to use his entire turn anymore. He'll have to waste like some of his movement to actually enact this status effect. Okay, I have to resurrect Lozy again, unfortunately. Though I think Prince could do this because this will allow her to kind of take her turn without being killed by the archers, I guess. So I'm going to just use one more source point here. Maybe this should be I'll make this one a free action because this is going to give me one more duration. Okay, so I'm gonna infuse myself electric arrows, gain one more turn of action, and this, as you can see, saved my action points entirely, so I can just focus on dishing out damage on my opponents. Right, as you can see, this Harried status has inflicted the Terrified on my opponent here, and this actually means that their physical resistances are reduced by 35% and by -30 on top of that. This means that they're taking significantly more physical damage, and this is the reason for which actually comboing magic with physical attacks is extremely potent in this modification to the base game. So you can see my basic attacks are just really strong right now. Those are very hard crits, which would have been normally impossible without without the mod. I'm gonna just go and hide. Hopefully this is enough, and she can't target me. See, she's terrified, so she runs. But there is no like regular hard CC that you'd be you'd have normally been able to inflict on your enemies. Okay, I thought this was actually going to go way worse from the first turn of the combat. I thought I was going to lose this fight, but apparently I'm not gonna. Okay. So we have resurrected her. See, she procs prosperity, which happens when she's on full health. So she gets additional bonuses. In this case, her heals actually last longer than they normally would have. Okay, so here we go. She is going to be able to... so for instance, regularly this lasts for 2 turns, but if I use it now, I think, this is like a loaded game, so I'm not sure if it's actually going to apply just like that. It should last for 3 turns. See right there, there's the 3-turn regeneration effect. So that's what this particular passive or reaction does, right? So when she's on full HP, her heals actually do more than they normally would be doing. And this is just a very, very strong bonus, right? So you can see that, like, you can basically, I'm using just a fraction of what the system allows me to do. And if you, this is my first playthrough really on this system. And you can already see how much I can do with this, right? And there are like, I haven't really shown you the predator reactions, which are very potent here because my my rogue was under constant threat, but they're also very, very good. So I might actually do this now. I'm gonna show you the predator if I can get to this guy. So I'm gonna walk up. I know it's like a huge waste of turn. Here, I'm just going to make sure that he gets some stacks of battered. Now, when I do an attack on him that inflicts him with 7 battered, it's going to actually allow me to proc an additional auto attack. If I inflict the daze here, okay, see, so the proc has been so the predator has been procced, and my character was able to auto attack my opponent even though it wasn't their turn, right? So this was really cool. Now I can walk up here and I can inflict the attacks. Yeah, maybe this time I won't miss. So I'm just gonna walk up here and I'm going to try to use crippling blow. He has 7 or 8 stacks of battered now. Okay, I don't have AP for that. Shit, that's unlucky. That's just very unfortunate. I think I'm just gonna finish the fight here because it's been taking a bit too long. I can modify my hail strike, I think, to have like 1 more projectile. Guess that's not terrible of a too bad of a deal, right? Okay, he is standing in a very weird spot here. Okay, so see, hail strike does a significant portion of damage and actually procs my predator reaction here because he reached 7 harried, and he also was auto attacked through the predator stacks. Right, so this is really cool of a system, I think, and that's just really changing the way combat plays out most of the time. The loot isn't impressive, but the last thing I want to show you actually are the runes here. So as you can see, the rune system has also been reworked, and the runes are actually more valuable now. They add more bonuses, and they also offer a lot more character development because they actually work with the reaction system. So you can add some additional effects to your predator reactions through runes, or you can add some additional effects to your Centurion reaction, so for the tank, right? Depending on like what rune you choose, there are like several new runes that have been added as well, right? So you can basically just pick and choose what you want, right? Here I have like, for instance, the Granite rune, which is a new rune, which adds Perseverance, which is a combat defensive stat. I have this the Pearl rune, which adds additional memory. You can see that those increases to stats are really significant. They're just really cool, right? The system is really impressive overall, and I think it's definitely, I would say it's better than the original Divinity to a huge extent. It's still in the beta, but you can get your hands on the mod right now as well. it's just possible. I think I'll just link it in the description of this video. So overall, I think it's just a huge change to the way this game kind of works, to the pace of the game, and to the difficulty as well. But the nice thing about the difficulty alone is that you can actually change it. If you go to meditate here, you can change the difficulty here in the mod options. So you can alter the, you have like several sets of presets. I'm playing on default, which is already very difficult, trust me, especially in the first playthrough. And then you can actually alter enemy stats yourself, so you can increase their resistances, damage that they do, so basically like every single thing here. AP bonuses, the threshold for inflicting the harried and brittle and battered, all those things here. So tier 3 statuses to CC. There are like a lot of additional things that you can actually do here. This mod has like a lot of customization available to you, and this is just really intense, right? You can see like you can modify enemy skills, it's like what they do, how they work, and so on and so forth. So it's like a really cool list of things that you can actually apply, right? That you can see like a lot of cool things can be changed here, the way your enemies use their skills, right? So that's just really nice. So overall, like every single encounter is different, every single encounter is difficult. They're no longer one shot, so the combat is just, there is no longer permanent CC, right? It's just a brand new game basically. So you have the divinity as a kind of this main matrix, right, for the actual game that this mod introduces. And yeah, like you can try out like multiple builds as well. So I'm not using a lot of the accessible skills, right? So I'm not using the polymorph tree, I'm not using the pyromancer tree here, I'm not really using warfare offensively, I'm not using summoning, right? Or just geomancer is kind of just for the tanking. There are just so many things you can do here, and it's like really impressive. And the amount of work that has gone into this must have been just immense already, right? And they're just still like developing this. There are like weekly patches that either improve the existing content or add some new stuff. So it's just really amazing to see this mod develop and improve. And I guess this is it, right? So as you can probably see on my channel, I have like a lot of videos that are basically just videos of this particular modification to the game. So you can see a lot of like playthrough footage that I have, so you can just kind of move from this video to more gameplay of the mod if you're interested. If you would like to see some more content on this particular mod or on Divinity 2, you can also press like or subscribe or tell me what you liked or didn't like in the comments. I really invite you to do so. Yeah, so that's probably going to be it. So thank you for watching and see you in the next episode.